What's up YouTube? Today I want to talk about spectral processing in Heap and a really cool technique that I figured out in how to split your harmonic bands and process them individually. So without further ado, let's dive in and have a look. Spectral processing is the ability to split up your separate harmonics and process them individually. This can be useful for being able to quantize the audio of your sounds. Stuff that I've showed previously with spectral processing, stuff like Aberrant Digitalis, Synaptics pitch map, and that kind of thing. So there's various kind of musical and more distortion-based things that you can do with it. But I think the ability to do it with inside Heap. So this is incredibly CPU intensive as we stack up quite a lot of instances of stuff inside stuff. And it's purely a kind of experimental kind of thing, but I think, you know, when the people at Kilohertz maybe see this, they could look at maybe coding something similar, you know, a spectral type of processor or a spectral splitter of some kind with maybe, you know, more efficient things. Anyway, I think that could be really interesting. Again, like I said, this is purely experimental, but I think you guys are going to get some good use out of this. So without further ado, let's see what we've got so far in the project. So this is a tabular loop. Okay, so let's look at how we would split this spectrally. So the easiest way to do this is inside SliceEQ. And why do I say that? It's because inside SliceEQ, we can actually tune specific bands, right? Once we've kind of, for example, set everything to like the A series, A harmonic series, so like 55, 110, 220, 440, etc. Then you can go and just offset this over here. So let's say, for example, I want to show you how I do this. So we create a shelf that goes down all the way and all the way up. So we're essentially cutting out all the sound this way, right? And the steeper the shelf, the more we actually cut out from the bottom there. So let's say, for example, I don't want too much phase difference right at the top. So let's say, for example, a 48 dB octave should be good. So now what we want to do is we want to start putting in peaks at the A series. So for example, let's put in one that is at exactly 55 hertz. Then we want to put one in that's at exactly 110 hertz. And then we're doubling the frequency basically, 220, 440, 880, etc. So what I'm going to show you quickly is I've actually got something pre-baked, but I want to show you what we're doing here basically. So if we gain this up all the way and then turn this to a 96 dB octave, then turn the Q all the way up, you can see we've just isolated that single harmonic band, right? And then we can turn it down. And then, for example, with this one, set it to 96, Q all the way up. And then the gain becomes like the ability to add that specific harmonic band. So what's essentially happening here is we're only isolating the A harmonics from that loop and playing those and allowing those through in the mix. So here, for example, if we use this offset, we can turn this down -1 semitone, and now it's the G sharp. So if we go +3, then we've got the C. It's going to gain everything down back to 0. And I want to save this. Let's just create a new folder. I'm going to call this Spectrals. And then let's call this C. So what I want to do then is create one then at 4. We can save this as C sharp, etc., etc. So then once we've got it all pre-baked, 5, E, 6, D sharp, and then we want to go. So you're probably asking like, why am I saving these as little presets? But you're going to see shortly. So then let's say -2. Okay, so we've got all of these, right? So now let's say new. Let's add in a new instance of Heap, and then here let's say, for example, open the spectrals folder, and then now we can choose a chord. So let's say C. I'm going to duplicate this, and we're going to go like this so that we've got so that these bands are parallel. And then here, let's set this to D sharp, and let's set this to G. Now we've created a C minor chord. So because of the way that those EQs work, and because the bands are so steep in Q, you do get a bit of resonance there. So what I'm going to do is actually put a transient shaper and turn the sustain and pump all the way down, and then I'm going to turn the attack up. And we can actually duplicate this so that we get more of a plucky sound. So what we can do is we can start adding, for example, like extra frequency bands and process them individually, or just use these chords and process these individually with some of the interesting effects that we have here. So for example, like we could do a reverser on the mids, like a reverb on the tops, and then maybe like a filter, and then we can use a audio follower to kind of create some filter movement here. But then what we can do is we can create a random, turn the speed down, and then set this audio follow to trigger the random. And then so every time it triggers, it's going to be a new value by sidechaining that audio follower back to the filter. So we could add in some more notes from the scale by just duplicating the snap heap. And then let's say, for example, set this to the F sharp, the G sharp. We want to parallel this as well. And then only modulate that top note in every now and then. So this is not only cool in like rhythmic context. We could potentially use this on a phase plant patch. So let's say, for example, just disable this, and let's say open up an instance of phase plant, and then even just like single saw waves run through a spectral process can create some really interesting results. Specifically, if you start to kind of modulate the pitch of the saw wave, because then what happens is it still tries to snap those things to that musical scale, but the inputs are kind of all random. Check this out. So I'm just going to turn this down. Awesome, that's about all for today. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm going to be uploading both of these presets to my Patreon for all my $5 supporters, as well as a bunch of those individual note spectral split presets. So if you want to know what that's all about, check out the link in the description. And yeah, if you haven't yet, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to my channel. See you guys next time. Cheers.